Hey, how's it going? It's Jakub Gatěk on the mic, and we're back with another episode of 32 Bar Talk, brought to you by Jazzfest Brno. And without further ado, we have, let me introduce you to Emmet Cohen. Welcome to our podcast.
Hey, thank you very much. It's nice to be here in the Czech Republic.
Yeah, you're back here, right? After a year?
Yeah, we were here last year in Brno. Been a couple times to Prague too, and it's always wonderful in this part of the world. So,
of course. Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, a pleasure. Well, you're in the middle of a tour right now again. Is that so?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, you're bringing like your usual, let's say, music, like this, let's say, standards, or what's the gist of this tour?
Well, what we do is we draw from all of the past and the influences that we have, and we do our own stuff as well. So it's some repertoire, which means today is the birthday of Duke Ellington.
Oh, wow.
And International Jazz Day is on
the
same time. Actually, yesterday was his birthday, so we thought we may play a little Duke Ellington medley that we put together in soundcheck.
Nice. I thought I heard like was there like Star-Crossed Lovers being quoted? Yeah,
that's
I
the
think
straight horn part.
Yeah.
So we like to just be free and be in the moment, and we like to draw from all of the different styles of the music as well. We love early jazz, Louis Armstrong, Fats Waller, James P. Johnson, Willie Lyon Smith, Earl Father Hines, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we also like Keith Jarrett and Herbie Hancock and McCoy Tyner and Wynton Marsalis and everything in between.
Yeah, of course.
So for us, it's not so much what are we doing on this tour. It's just all the things that we love and we've studied and we've taken in and we've danced to and we've listened to when we're hanging out. And those are the things that come through in the music, and so we're able to draw from a vast repertoire of stuff and also some original things, and we just like to be free and kind of feel the vibe of the audience and feel the vibe of the place and everything, and then just kind of be free on stage.
Of course, that's a great concept. So I don't know, like if there's a birthday of someone, I don't know, tomorrow coming up, would you do like a medley for them as well?
Well, it depends who it is. Duke Ellington's pretty much one of the forefathers of American classical music, of Black American music. He is very important to us, not only as a composer, but also as an activist and someone who changed the way people think all over the world. And I think he's extra special. So we don't just do that for everyone's birthday, but I think they put International Jazz Day on like in the same time as Duke Ellington's birthday for a reason.
Exactly.
One of the most important figures. And so, no, we wouldn't play a medley for just anyone, but I could think of some other people we might do. We might do Barry Harris medley. We might do a little Ahmed Jamal medley, Cedar Walton medley for sure.
I see. Coincidentally, all of them being pianists.
Well, I'm a pianist, so,
of course.
We're playing piano trio, so it makes sense. But,
of course.
We go in other directions as well.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned a lot of names of the past, like as Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and like there's a strong connection to the place. I think you live in Harlem, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you see it like there? I don't know, like hundreds, maybe not 100, but like 80 years, since that time where like is past. Like, can you say it's still in the present, like the influence of jazz music and like the Black American history in there? And like
I mean, 100 years isn't that much time, really, if you think about it. I mean, we're in the Roaring 20s again this century. The Roaring 20s of last century, people were on the very block that I live on, Edgecombe Avenue, and they were doing Harlem rent parties with people like Fats Waller and James P. Johnson and Willie Lyon Smith and Mary Lou Williams up the street, and Thelonious Monk was her student, and everyone was playing stride and hanging out at people's houses, and Johnny Hodges would come in and play, and all the musicians lived in Harlem, and they just wanted to create this vibe where they played when everything was shut down, and they would pass the hat for rent in the people's house, and they would call it a rent party, and these things became kind of legendary, and people from all classes would come, be like policemen and lawyers and doctors, and then it'd be teachers and people who just worked as janitors, and it'd be everyone just mixing and just loving the music together. And I think that was a powerful time, and we can still feel that in our presence in Harlem. And we did a Harlem rent party and live streamed it to the world, and that was an important thing for us, and an important connection to the past.
I guess I would say it has been important for a lot of people, at least from my perspective, because I don't know when it started, to be honest, but I mean, we're talking about the Emmet's Place, right? Or like live at from Emmet's Place. But to me, it was kind of a relief, seeing it as like being, I think I noticed it during pandemic, when it kind of like got bigger and bigger, like these one of my most favorite saxophone solos ever comes from like the After You've Gone, played by Patrick Bartley. I think like that's from a lot of friends I spoke to. But I mean, to me, this is just like, I think this has been very important for a lot of people as I see it, because oh yeah, have you seen this concert, have you seen that concert? So I think do you feel also that way, that it like maybe transitioned something bigger than like even being a rent party being streamed? Or how do you look back at it, like with the time being passed already, like 2-3 years maybe?
It's been 4 years. We started at the very beginning of the pandemic, almost the first week. And it took us a little while to get the technology right and figure things out and build a team and everything. But I think of it as like one big giant jazz club. Where people can come in and spend time together and listen to music together and chat with their friends. And, people get on there every week and say hi to people that they know there. And it's like a replacement for going to the club and like seeing all the people just in a different time now, where you can get on the internet and you can bond with people anywhere over the music and talk about it while it's going on. What's this song? Or people do all kinds of stuff in the comments, and I think there's that aspect of it. There's the fact that it's just a picture of New York City and a snapshot of the musicians who are there, whether it's like legends like Sheila Jordan and Houston Person or Joe Lovano, Christian McBride, people like that, or whether it's like young musicians like Gifton Jellin or Philip Norris or Tavon Pennicott, Godwin Louis, and people who are younger. There's great young singers named Georgia Hears and Ikep Nkwele, and Samara Joy was on the show a couple times. And so we try to give a picture of New York City by many different artists, many different generations, many different instruments and styles. And that, I think, is why it was powerful, because we gave a kind of a holistic view, and it wasn't just this one thing. And it wasn't about us either, really. It was about everyone else.
Yeah, I see. Was it hard to like get some people there? I mean, speaking from willing to perform, like, I mean, during the lockdown times, let's say, or was it just like everyone left to, or like everyone was thrilled to play, I guess, right? Or
in the beginning, it was interesting because people hadn't played with other human beings in 6 months, 1 year. So we had some people on there that hadn't made a note with other musicians and felt that feeling in over a year. And so to have that be the first thing back, it also captured this special moment. But then, for us, it was just about bringing as many people together as possible. And some people had been playing other gigs on the street in New York City. Some people went away for a little while and then came back and were ready to do it. So everyone had their own time horizon when it came to that, and comfortability with everything that was going on. But it was such a unique time in history, and it was just a tool that helped us get through it. Not only us, the musicians, but also the people who were listening and keeping track from week to week. And now we go to visit them in person, and it's a special relationship.
Yeah, that's a special relationship, definitely. But you also had like, I mean, for instance, I'm trying to like remember who was there. I think, or like was it just, I mean, was it the rule, or like did it become like all encompassing, like all over the US basically, like that you started inviting slowly also musicians from non-New York, like non-New York musicians, let's say, or was it just NY musicians? Or
it was anyone who we had a vibe with who was going to be in New York. So when people started coming back, I know Cyrille May, she doesn't live in New York. She doesn't live in New York, but she came up from New Orleans or something, and she was like, yeah, let's do one while I'm in town. And so it became very much that thing when people were like, oh, I'm going to be in town, or like, figure out when when different people would come. We have James Morrison coming from Australia, and so it's taken 4 years for us to line up a date where we were gonna make it happen. So it takes a bit of scheduling, and sometimes we do things last minute as well. That's the nature of the music, and do our best to put out a good product to the world so people can enjoy it.
I see. But also I was curious a bit, because seeing it, having some kind of let's say restrictions during the COVID, in our country, for instance, seeing it like, overseas, how it like became, able to, for instance, like have a lot of people in one place. Was it hard for you, from the law perspective, let's say, to like put this together? Did you have to acquire some like special permission, or was it just like we roll and whatever happens?
Yeah, Harlem is a place of density. There's a lot of people living on top of a lot of people, and it's very hard to enforce and control a large group of people, and I think that's why it's so fertile in the arts as well, because there's just a lot of different kinds of people there. They're all doing their thing, and I think that since everything was closed down, people were allowed to gather in houses, and as long as they were being safe in whatever way that was, the people who usually spend time together were living alone or in a certain bubble. So we tried to take precautions, but it was all within the law. Yeah,
of course. Nice. Also, I wanted to talk about a bit, you have the Master Legacy series, where you have, I think, like, there was Ron Carter, right? There was, and who else? I kind of forgot. But yeah, can you tell more about it?
Yeah, so when I was first moving to New York, one of my first gigs was with the Dizzy Gillespie alumni band, and it was a bunch of musicians in there, a whole big band, and the person who was playing first tenor in the band was Jimmy Heath. And we rode the bus down to play New Year's from New York to Washington, D.C., and I got the chance to hear him speak about his life and all of his experiences, and people are asking him questions, and he was just going on and on about knowing Charlie Parker and Miles Davis, and his brother Percy Heath, who was a Tuskegee Airman in the Air Force, and growing up with Benny Golson, and just all these kind of stories. And I was like, wow, this is jazz history, like from the source. This is something that I hadn't experienced like that directly before. And I said, well, it would be great for me to have more chances to be around this, but also my whole generation, I think, could really benefit from spending time with the jazz masters. So the project is a response to the generation gap that was created in the time when I moved to New York, where I tried to bring together the young generation of jazz musicians with the older one, and it is a series of recordings, albums, live performances, and interviews with jazz masters, just designed to focus on the intergenerational interaction.
I see. But do you have a feeling that do you think that the tradition kind of will survive, or it will just or will we see the tradition shift to something else, in a sense that what we consider tradition now might become a very different word, or very different meaning? What's your take on this?
I mean, things are always changing, things are always shifting. A common question is jazz dead? Is jazz gonna die? I have a friend, his name is Spike Wilner, and he owns Smalls Jazz Club, and one of the things that he says always is jazz is like the weeds in between the cracks, and no matter how many times you kill the weeds, or you try to take them out, or you pave over it, they always find the crack and grow through. And I thought that resonated with me, because you can't. There's another quote that's you can't kill a piano. No. The music, they've been saying it's dead ever since Charlie Parker died, but it lives with the people who really feel it and really hear it. And I think things change and things evolve and technology shifts, but the music is always here to affect people, and it's real instruments playing real freely improvised music that has dance, and it has feeling, and it has culture, and it has this richness. When you hear Lester Young play a note, or when you hear Dizzy Gillespie play a note, and when you hear Charlie Parker play a note, any of the greats, you get that feeling. And what we like to do is try to recreate that feeling or create our own version of that feeling, so then people can see themselves through the music.
I see. Yeah, that's a very like nice quest that you embarked on. But you talked about the piano. Have you ever I've read that you basically played since you were 3 or something, right? Basically, since you could play basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you ever consider like having another instrument, or like was it just like piano is my life and let's go?
I mean, I played some other instruments and stuff growing up, some clarinet, saxophone. Okay. I took some lessons. I also play Hammond B3 organ, which is like keyboard, but its own thing, different function. You have to play a certain way, and
you gotta treat it as like its own way, basically, right?
That's a concept usually because you play with the bass. You play the bass function as well, so you're playing feet and left hand, and there's no bass player, so it's a different thing than like maybe playing piano where you have a bass player. So it's just different ways of thinking about orchestrating music and playing with other people. So those are some of my other hobbies, but piano's the main thing.
Yeah, I see. But you also you went through it all then, no? Like you must have gone through like the classical world also, or I mean, for sure the jazz tradition, the modern style kind of playing. But have you ever felt like the need, for instance, to switch to like some kind of other genre, or was it just like, I'm dead set on playing this music because this is just who I am? Or
when we explain this question to kids, they're like, how did you choose the piano? How did you choose jazz? How did you find it? I'm like, I always say, like, how does Harry Potter find his wand? Do you know the answer?
Well,
the wand chooses him.
Yeah.
And it's very much like that. It's just like I heard these sounds and I understood the language a little bit, and I tried to figure out more, and then just tried to come up with the next place and the next phase and the next thing, and connect with different musicians. And it was just really naturally one thing that led to another. And I'm very open to other styles of music. I just visited Cuba recently for the first time. The sounds there, the rhythms, the all that stuff is like, when I hear that, I'm like, I want to incorporate that into what I'm doing.
Yeah, I see.
It's always about adding things into it, and so I continue to have an open mind. And if someone asked me to play a big rock tour or something or another genre, I would definitely be open to it.
Yeah, cool. That's nice. I mean, speaking of playing, I think that our time is going up a bit, so we need to conclude. But I always do a thing in the end where I let the guest talk for like 30 seconds and about anything they want. So here's your 30 seconds.
Okay. Just think that it's important for people to remember the bigger picture about the music. It's very easy to get caught up in the specifics, but the reason that I play is to travel the world and to bring this music to people who didn't know they needed to hear it or really needed to hear it. And the fact that we're here gives them confidence to be able to play or to be themselves or feel like they can be an individual and be who they are and express themselves. And the mission has evolved into a bigger picture than just coming and playing a concert. It's about connecting with people, looking people in the eye, teaching, doing some educational stuff, and trying to show that all humans are really pretty alike everywhere in the world, and that we should celebrate that, but not be afraid of who we really are and who we really want to be at our best. Yeah,
I agree. Well, then thank you for finding the time to be here on our podcast today, and I wish you a very great concert.
Thank you so much, Jakub.
Thank you.